the totality of possibilities. Each one of us is totally linked with the universe and with all of life. The power is within us to expand the horizons of our consciousness. Now I want you to stretch even further. If you have been on the pathway and doing work on yourself for some time, does that mean you have nothing else to do? Are you really going to sit on your laurels and rest? Or do you realize that this inner work is a lifetime occupation, and once you start, you never really stop? You can hit plateaus and take vacations, but basically it's a lifetime's worth of work. You may want to ask yourself what areas you still need to work on and what you need. Are you healthy? Are you happy? Are you prosperous? Are you creatively fulfilled? Do you feel safe? Do you feel secure? Are you loved? Limitations learned from the past. There is an expression I love, the totality of possibilities. I learned it from one of my early teachers in New York, Eric Pace. It always gave me such a taking off place for letting my mind go beyond what I thought possible, far beyond the limited beliefs I grew up with when I was young. Being a child, I didn't understand that the passing criticisms of grown-ups and friends were just the result of a bad day or a small disappointment, and really weren't true. I accepted these thoughts and beliefs about myself willingly, and they became part of my limitations. I may not have looked awkward or dumb or silly, but I sure felt it. Most of us create the ideas we believe about life by the time we are 5 years old. We add a little bit more when we are teenagers, and maybe a tiny bit more when we're older, but very little. If I were to ask most people why they believe such and such on any subject, and they trace it back, they would discover that they made a certain decision about the subject by the time they were this young age. So we often live in the limitations of our 5-year-old consciousness. It was something we accepted from our parents, and we still live under the limitations of our parents' consciousness. Even the most wonderful parents in the world didn't know everything and had their own limitations. We say what they said and do what they did. You can't do that or that won't work. However, we don't need limitations, as important as they may seem. Some of our beliefs may be positive and nourishing. These thoughts serve us very well all of our lives, such as look both ways before you cross the street, or fresh fruits and vegetables are good for your body. Other thoughts may be useful at a young age, but as we grow older, they are no longer appropriate. Don't trust strangers, for instance, may be good advice for a small child. As adults, to perpetuate this belief only creates isolation and loneliness. The good news in all of this is that we can always make adjustments all the time. The moment we say, I can't, or it won't work, or there's not enough money, or what would the neighbors think, we are limited. This last expression is a significant obstacle for us. What will the neighbors or my friends or co-workers or whoever think? It's a good excuse. Now we don't have to do it, because they wouldn't do it, and they wouldn't approve. As society changes, what the neighbors think changes also. So to hold on to this assumption doesn't make sense. If someone says to you, nobody has ever done it this way before, you can say, so what? There are hundreds of ways of doing something, so do it the way that's right for you. We tell ourselves other absurd messages, such as, I'm not strong enough, or I'm not young enough, or I'm not old enough, or I'm not tall enough, or I'm not the right sex. How often have you used the last one? Because I'm a woman, I can't do this, or because I'm a man, I can't do that. Your soul has no sexuality. I believe you agreed upon your sexuality before you were born, to learn a spiritual lesson. To feel inferior because of sexuality is not only a poor excuse, but also another way to relinquish your power. Our limitations often stop us from expressing and experiencing the totality of possibilities. I don't have the right education. How many of us have let that one stop us? We want to realize that education is something set up by groups of people who say, you can't do such and such unless you do it our way. We can accept that as a limitation, or we can go beyond it. I accepted it for many, many years because I was a high school dropout. I used to say, oh, I don't have any education. I can't think. I can't get a good job. I can't do anything well. And then one day I realized that the limitation was all in my mind and had nothing to do with reality. When I dropped my own limiting beliefs and I allowed myself to move into the totality of possibilities, I discovered that I could think. I discovered that I was very bright and I could communicate. I discovered all sorts of possibilities, which when viewed from the limitations of the past seemed impossible. Limiting the potential within us. Then there are some of you who think you know it all. The trouble with knowing it all is that you don't grow and nothing new can come in. Do you accept that there is a power and an intelligence greater than you? Or do you think that you are it, you in your physical body? If you think that you're it, then you will be running scared because of your limited mind. If you realize that there is a power in this universe that is far greater and wiser, and you are part of it, then you can move into the space where the totality of possibilities can operate. How often do you allow yourself to dwell in the limitations of your present consciousness? Every time you say, I can't, you're putting a stop sign in front of you. You shut down the door to your own inner wisdom, and you block the flow of energy that is your spiritual knowingness. Are you willing to go beyond what you believe today? You woke up this morning with certain concepts and ideas. You have the ability to move beyond some of them, to experience a far greater reality. It's called learning, because you are taking in something new. It may fit in with what is already there, or it may be even better. Have you ever noticed that when you start rearranging your closet, you discard clothes and odds and ends that you no longer need? You pile up the possessions you are giving away on one side, and throw or give away the stuff that is no longer usable. Then you begin to put everything back, and in a totally different order. It's easier to find what you're looking for, and at the same time, you make room for new clothes. If you bought a new outfit and put it in the old closet, you may have had to jam it between other stuff. If you clean out your closet and rearrange it, then when you bring in the new outfit, it has room for itself. We need to do the same routine with our minds. We need to clean out the contents that no longer work, so we have room for new possibilities. Where God is, all things are possible, and God is in each one of us. If we continue with our preconceived ideas, then we are blocked. When someone is ill, do you say, oh, poor person, how he or she must be suffering? Or do you look at the person and see the absolute truth of being and affirm the health of God that is within? Do you see the totality of possibilities and know that miracles can happen? A man I once met told me very emphatically that it was absolutely impossible for a grown person to change. He was living in the desert and had all sorts of illnesses, and he wanted to sell his property. He didn't want to change his thinking, so he was very rigid when it came time to negotiate with a buyer. It had to be done his way. It was apparent that he would have a very burdensome time trying to sell his property because his belief was that he could never change. All he had to do was open his consciousness to a new way of thinking. Expanding our horizons. How do we keep ourselves from moving into this totality of possibilities? What else limits us? All our fears are limitations. If you are frightened and you say, I can't, it won't work, what will happen? Fearful experiences will come back. Judgments are limitations. None of us like to be judged, yet how often do we do it? We are encouraging limitations by our judgments. Every time you find yourself judging or criticizing, no matter how small, remind yourself that what goes out comes back. You may want to stop limiting your possibilities and change your thinking to something wonderful. There is a difference between being judgmental and having an opinion. Many of you are asked for your opinion of something. In actuality, you are really giving your judgment. An opinion is how you feel about something, such as I prefer not to do this. I prefer to wear red instead of blue. To say someone else is wrong because she wears blue becomes a judgment. We need to discern between the two. Remember, criticism is always making yourself or someone else wrong. If someone asks your opinion, your preference, don't let it become a judgment or criticism against something else. Also, every time you indulge in guilt, you are setting a limitation. If you hurt someone, say you're sorry and don't hurt the person again. Don't walk around feeling guilty, because it keeps you locked out from experiencing your good and has nothing to do with the reality of your true being. When you are unwilling to forgive, you limit your growth. Forgiveness allows you to right a wrong in your spiritual self, to have understanding instead of resentment, to have compassion instead of hatred. Look at your problems as opportunities for you to grow. When you have problems, do you see only the restrictions of your limited mind thinking? Do you think, oh, poor me, why did this happen to me? You don't always have to know how situations are going to work out. You do need to trust the power and presence within, which is far greater than you are. You need to affirm that all is well and everything is working out for your highest good. If you open yourself to the possibilities when you have problems, you can make changes. Changes can happen in incredible ways, perhaps ways you could not even imagine. We've all been in situations in our lives where we've said, I don't know how I'll work this out. It seems like we were up against a brick wall, and yet we are all here now, and we've worked through whatever it was. Maybe we didn't understand how it happened, yet it did happen. The more we can align ourselves with the cosmic energy, the one intelligence, the truth and power within us, the quicker those wonderful possibilities can be realized. Group consciousness. It is essential that we leave our limited thinking and beliefs behind and awaken our consciousness to a more cosmic view of life. The development of higher consciousness on this planet is happening at a rate far faster than ever before. The other day I saw a graph that just fascinated me. It showed the growth of various systems in our history and how they have changed. The agricultural development was overshadowed by industrial growth, and then around 1950 the informational phase took over as communication and computer operation became widespread. Alongside this informational period, there is also a consciousness-raising movement graph that is shooting far ahead of the informational phase at an unchallenged rate of advancement. Can you imagine what it means? I do a lot of traveling, and wherever I go, I see people who are studying and learning. I've been to Australia, Jerusalem, Egypt, London, Paris, Amsterdam, and everywhere I go, I meet large groups of people who are searching for ways to expand and enlighten themselves. They are fascinated by how their minds work, and they are using their wisdom to take control of their lives and their experiences. We are reaching new levels of spirituality. Although religious wars are still being fought, they are becoming less and less prevalent. We are beginning to connect with one another on higher levels of consciousness. The collapse of the Berlin Wall and the birth of freedom in Europe are examples of our expanding consciousness, as freedom is our natural birthright. As the consciousness of each person awakens, group consciousness becomes influenced as well. Every time you use your consciousness in a positive way, you are connecting with other people who are doing the same. Every time you use it in a negative way, you are also connecting to that. Every time you meditate, you are connecting with other people on the planet who are meditating. Every time you visualize good for yourself, you do it for others as well. Every time you visualize the healing of your body, you connect with others who are doing the same thing. Our goals are to expand our thinking and to go beyond what was to what might be. Our consciousness can create miracles in the world. The totality of possibilities connects everything, including our universe and beyond. What are you connecting with? Prejudice is a form of fear. If you're prejudiced, you are connecting with other prejudiced people. If you open your consciousness and do the best you can to work on a level of unconditional love, then you connect with the curve on the graph that is climbing upwards. Do you want to be left behind, or do you want to go up with the curve? Often there is a crisis in the world. How many people send positive energy to the troubled area and do affirmations that everything works out as quickly as possible and there is a solution for the highest good of all concerned? You need to use your consciousness in a way that will create harmony and plenty for all people. What sort of energy are you sending? Instead of condemning and complaining, you can connect with the power on the spiritual level and affirm the most positive results imaginable. How far are you willing to expand the horizons of your thinking? Are you willing to go beyond your neighbors? If your neighbors are limited, make new friends. How far will you stretch? How willing are you to change I can't to I can? Every time you hear that something is incurable, know in your mind that it isn't true. Know that there is a power greater. Incurable to me means that the medical profession simply hasn't yet figured out how to cure that particular illness. It doesn't mean that it's not possible. It means that we go within and find a cure. We can go beyond statistics. We are not numbers on a chart. Those are someone else's projections, somebody's limited mind thinking. If we don't give ourselves possibilities, we don't give ourselves hope. Dr. Donald Picciuto at the National AIDS Conference in Washington, D.C. said that we have never had an epidemic, ever, that was 100% fatal. Somewhere on this planet, someone has been healed of every single dis-ease that we have been able to create. If we just accept doom and gloom, we are stuck. We need to take a positive approach so we can find some answers. We need to begin to use the power within us to heal ourselves. We have other powers. It is said that we only use 10% of our brain. Only 10%. What is the purpose of the other 90%? I think having psychic ability, telepathy, clairvoyance, or clairaudience are all normal and natural. It's just that we don't allow ourselves to experience these phenomena. We have all sorts of reasons why we don't, or why we don't believe we can. Little children are often very psychic. Unfortunately, parents immediately say, "Don't say that," or "That's your imagination," or "Don't believe in that foolish nonsense." The child inevitably turns off these abilities. I think the mind is capable of remarkable things, and I know for certain that I could go from New York to Los Angeles without a plane if I only knew how to dematerialize and rematerialize there. I don't know how yet, but I know it is possible. I think that we are capable of accomplishing incredible achievements, but we haven't the knowledge yet because we won't use it for our good. We will probably hurt others with the knowledge. When we can get to the point where we really live in unconditional love, then we can begin using the other 90% of our brains. Firewalking. How many of you heard about firewalking? Whenever I ask this question at seminars, several hands always go up. And yet we all know that it is totally impossible to walk on hot coals, right? Nobody can do it without burning their feet. Yet people have done it, and they aren't extraordinary people. They are people like you and me, and they probably learned it in one evening by attending a firewalking workshop. I have a friend, Darby Long, who works with Dr. Carl Symington, the cancer specialist. They do a week-long workshop for people with cancer, and during the week they have a firewalking demonstration. Darby has done it herself many times and has even carried people across the hot coals. I always think how incredible it must be for people with cancer to see and experience such a process. It probably blows a lot of people's minds. Their concepts about limitation would somehow be different afterwards. I believe Tony Robbins, the young man who started firewalking in this country, is here to do something really extraordinary on the planet. He studied NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, a process whereby he could observe someone's patterns of behavior and then repeat that person's responses and cues of behavior to achieve similar results. NLP is based on the hypnotic techniques of Milton Erickson, which were systematically observed and recorded by John Grindler and Richard Bandler. When Tony heard about firewalking, he wanted to learn it and in turn teach it to others. He was told by a yogi that it would take years of study and meditation. However, using NLP, Tony learned it within a few hours. He knew that if he could do it, anyone could do it. He has been teaching people how to walk on coals, not because it's a wonderful parlor trick, but because it shows them how to go beyond their limitations and fears. Everything is possible. Repeat with me. I live and dwell in the totality of possibilities. Where I am, there is all good. Think about these words for a minute. All good. Not some, not a little bit, but all good. When you believe that anything is possible, you open yourself up to answers in every area of your life. Where we are is the totality of possibility. It is always up to us, individually and collectively. We either have walls around us, or we take them down and feel safe enough to be totally open to allow all good to come into our lives. Begin to observe yourself. Notice what is going on inside you, how you feel, how you react, what you believe, and allow yourself to observe without comment or judgment. When you can, you will live your life from the totality of possibilities. Part 5, Letting Go of the Past. The planet is becoming conscious as a whole. It is becoming self-conscious. Chapter 14, Change and Transition. Some people would rather leave the planet than change. Change is usually what we want the other person to do, isn't it? When I speak about the other person, I want to include the government, big business, the boss or co-worker, the Internal Revenue Service, foreigners, the school, husband, wife, mother, father, children, etc. Anyone other than ourselves. We don't want to change, but we want everyone else to change so our lives will be different. And yet, of course, any changes that we are going to make at all have to come from within ourselves. Change means that we free ourselves from feelings of isolation, separation, loneliness, anger, fear, and pain. We create lives filled with wonderful peacefulness, where we can relax and enjoy life as it comes to us, where we know that everything will be all right. I like to use the premise that life is wonderful, all is perfect in my world, and I always move into greater good. In that way, it doesn't matter to me which direction my life takes, because I know it's going to be wonderful. Therefore, I can enjoy all sorts of situations and circumstances. Someone at one of my lectures was going through a lot of turmoil, and the word pain kept coming up in the conversation. She asked me if there was another word she could use, and I thought about the time I'd smashed my finger by slamming a window on it. I knew if I gave in to the pain, I was going to go through a very difficult period. So when it happened, I started to do some mental work right away and referred to my finger as having a lot of sensation. By viewing what happened in that particular way, I think it helped to heal the finger much more quickly and to handle what could have been a very unpleasant experience. Sometimes if we can alter our thinking a little bit, we can completely change a situation. Can you think of change as an inner house cleaning? If you do a little bit at a time, it will eventually all get done. You don't have to do it all, however, before you begin to see results. If you change just a little bit, you'll begin to feel better soon. I was at the Reverend O.C. Smith's City of Angels Science of Mind Church on New Year's Day, and he said something that made me think. He said, "It's the new year, but you've got to realize that the new year is not going to change you. Just because it's a new year, it's not going to make any difference in your life. The only way there's going to be a change is if you are willing to go within and make the change." And that's so true. People make all sorts of New Year's resolutions, but because they don't make any internal changes, the resolutions fall away very quickly. "I'm not going to smoke another cigarette," or whatever someone says, and right away it's put in a negative phrase rather than one that will tell the subconscious mind what to do. In this situation, you could say instead, "All desire for cigarettes has left me and I am free." Until we make the inner changes, until we are willing to do the mental work, nothing outside of us is going to change. Yet the inner changes can be so incredibly simple because the only thing we really need to change is our thoughts. What can you do for yourself this year that you didn't do last year that could be positive? Take a moment and think about this question. What would you like to let go of this year that you clung to so tightly last year? What would you like to change in your life? And are you willing to do it? There is a lot of information available that will give you ideas once you are willing to change. The moment you are willing to change, it is remarkable how the universe begins to help you. It brings you what you need. It could be a book, a tape, a teacher, or even a friend making a passing remark that suddenly has deep meaning to you. Sometimes conditions will get worse before they get better, and that's okay, because the process is beginning. The old threads are untangling, so flow with it. Don't panic and think it's not working. Just keep working with your affirmations and the new beliefs you are planting. Making progress. Of course, from the moment you decide to make a change until you get the demonstration, there is a transitional period. You vacillate between the old and the new. You go back and forth between what was and what you would like to be or have. It is a normal and natural process. Often I hear people saying, "Well, I know all this stuff." And my answer is, are you doing it? Knowing what to do and doing it are two separate steps. It takes time until you are strong in the new and have gone the complete shift. Until then, you must be consistent in your efforts to change. For instance, many people say their affirmations maybe 3 times and give up. Then they say that affirmations don't work, or they're silly, or whatever. We want to give ourselves time to practice to make the changes. Change requires action. As I said, it's what you do after you say your affirmations that counts the most. As you go through this transitional phase, remember to praise yourself for each small step forward that you make. If you beat yourself up for the step backward, then change becomes oppressive. Use all the tools available to you as you move from the old to the new. Assure the little child inside that he or she is safe. Author Gerald Jampolsky says that love is letting go of fear, and that there is either fear or there is love. If we are not coming from the loving space of the heart, then we're in fear. And all those states, such as isolation, separation, anger, guilt, and loneliness, are part of the fear syndrome. We want to move from fear into love and make love a more permanent position for us. There are many ways to change. What do you do on a daily basis to make yourself feel good inside? You're not going to do it by blaming other people or by being a victim. So what is it that you do? How are you experiencing peace within you and around you? If you are not doing it now, are you willing to begin? Are you willing to start creating inner harmony and peace? Another question to ask yourself is, do I really want to change? Do you want to continue to complain about what you don't have in your life? Or do you want to really create a much more wonderful life than you have now? If you are willing to change, you can. If you are willing to do the work involved, then you can change your life for the better. I have no power over you, and I can't do it for you. You have the power, and you need to keep reminding yourself of that. Remember, maintaining inner peace will help us connect with like-minded, peaceful people all over the world. Spirituality connects us all over this planet on a soul level, and the sense of cosmic spirituality that we are just beginning to experience is going to change the world for the better. When I speak of spirituality, I don't necessarily mean religion. Religions tell us who to love and how to love and who is worthy. To me, we are all worthy of love, and we are all lovable. Our spirituality is our direct connection with our higher source, and we don't need a middleman for that. Begin to see that spirituality can connect us all over the planet on a very deep soul level. Several times during the day, you might stop and ask yourself, what kind of people am I connecting with now? Ask yourself periodically, what do I really believe about this condition or situation? And think about it. Ask, what do I feel? Do I really want to do what these people are asking of me? Why am I doing this? Start to examine your thoughts and feelings. Be honest with yourself. Find out what you are thinking and believing. Don't go on automatic pilot, living your life by routine. This is the way I am and this is what I do. No, why do you do it? If it isn't a positive, nourishing experience, figure out where it came from. When did you first do it? You know what to do now. Connect to the intelligence within you. Stress is another word for fear. We talk a lot about stress these days. Everybody seems to be stressed out about something. Stress seems to be a buzzword, and we use it to the point where I think it's a cop-out. I'm so stressed out, or this is so stressful, or all is stress, stress, stress. Stress to me is a fearful reaction to life's constant changes. It is an excuse we use for not taking responsibility for our feelings. If we can equate the word stress with the word fear, then we can begin to eliminate the need for fear in our lives. The next time you think about how stressed you are, Ask yourself what is scaring you. Ask, how am I overloading or burdening myself? Why am I giving my power away? Find out what you are doing to yourself that is creating this fear within you that keeps you from achieving inner harmony and peace. Stress is not inner harmony. Inner harmony is being at peace within yourself. It's not possible to have stress and inner harmony at the same time. When you're at peace, you do things one at a time. You don't let things get to you. When you feel stressed, breathe and do something to release the fear so you can move through life feeling safe. Don't use the word stress as a cop-out. Don't give a little word like stress a lot of power. Nothing has any power over you. You are always safe. Life is a series of doors closing and opening. We walk from room to room having different experiences. Many of us would like to close some doors on old negative patterns, old blocks, situations that are no longer nourishing or useful to ourselves. Many of us are in the process of opening new doors and finding wonderful new experiences. I think that we come to this planet many, many times, and we come to learn different lessons. It's like coming to school. Before we incarnate at any particular time on the planet, we decide the lesson we are going to learn so that we can evolve spiritually. Once we choose our lesson, we choose all the circumstances and situations that will enable us to learn the lesson, including our parents, sexuality, place of birth, and race. If you've gotten this far in your life, believe me, you've made all the right choices for you. As you go through life, it is essential to remind yourself that you are safe. It is only change. Trust your higher self to lead you and guide you in ways that are best for your spiritual growth. As Joseph Campbell once said, follow your bliss. See yourself opening doors to joy, peace, healing, prosperity, and love. Doors to understanding, compassion, forgiveness, and freedom. Doors to self-worth, self-esteem, and self-love. You are eternal. You will go on forever from experience to experience. Even when you pass through the last doorway on this planet, it is not the end. It is the beginning of another new adventure. Ultimately, you cannot force anyone to change. You can offer them a positive mental atmosphere where they have the possibility to change if they wish. However, you cannot do it for or to other people. Each person is here to work out his or her own lessons, and if you fix it for them, then they will eventually have to do it again, because they haven't learned for themselves. They haven't worked out what they needed to do. Love your sisters and brothers. Allow them to be who they are. Know that the truth is always within them, and they can change at any moment that they want. Chapter 15. A world where it's safe to love each other. We can either destroy the planet or we can heal it. Send some loving, healing energy to the planet every day. What we do with our minds makes a difference. The planet is very much in a period of change and transition. We are going from an old order to a new order. And some people say it began with the Aquarian Age. At least the astrologers like to describe it that way. To me, astrology, numerology, palmistry, tarot cards, and all those methods of psychic phenomena are merely ways of describing life. They explain life to us in slightly different ways. So the astrologers say that we are moving out of the Piscean Age and into the Aquarian Age. During the Piscean Age, we looked to other people to save us. We looked for other people to do it for us. In the Aquarian Age, which we are now entering, people are beginning to go within, acknowledging that they have the ability to save themselves. Isn't it wonderfully liberating to be able to change what we don't like? Actually, I'm not so sure that the planet is changing as much as we are becoming more conscious and aware. Conditions that were brewing for a long time are coming to the surface, such as family dysfunction, child abuse, and our endangered planet. As with everything else, first we must become aware in order to make changes. In the same way that we do our mental house cleaning so that we can change, we are doing the same thing with Mother Earth. We are beginning to see our Earth as a whole, living, breathing organism, an entity, a being unto itself. It breathes, it has a heartbeat, it takes care of its children, it provides everything here that we could possibly need. It's totally balanced. If you spend a day in the forest or somewhere in nature, you can see how all the systems on the planet work perfectly. It's set up to live out its existence in absolute perfect equilibrium and harmony. So here we are, great mankind who knows so much, and we are doing our very best to destroy the planet by disrupting this balance and harmony. Our greed gets in the way to an enormous extent. We think we know best, and through ignorance and greed, we are destroying the living, breathing organism of which we are a part. If we destroy Earth, where are we going to live? I know that when I talk to people about caring more for the planet, they become overwhelmed by the problems we are encountering now. It seems that just one person doing something will not affect anything in the entire scheme of things. But that is not so. If everyone did a little, it would wind up being a lot. You may not be able to see the effects right in front of you, but believe me, Mother Earth feels it collectively. We have a little table set up to sell books at my AIDS support group. Recently, we ran out of bags to put products in, so I thought I would start saving the bags I received when I was out shopping. At first I thought, oh, you don't have that many bags by the end of the week. But boy, was I mistaken. I had bags coming out of my ears. One of my workers experienced the same thing. He said he had no idea how many bags a week he used until he started saving them. And when you put that in terms of Mother Earth, that's quite a few trees we're cutting down just to use for 1 or 2 hours, because we usually end up by throwing the bags away. If you don't believe me, just try it for 1 week. Save all the bags you receive, and just be aware of how many you use. I now have a cloth shopping bag that I use, and if I'm shopping and have forgotten to bring it, I ask for a big bag, and as I shop at other stores, I put my merchandise in one bag instead of collecting several. No one has ever looked at me twice for doing it. It just seems so sensible. In Europe, they've been using cloth shopping bags for a long time. A friend of mine from England visited and loved to go shopping at the supermarkets here because he wanted to carry the paper bags home. He thought they were very American and very chic. It may be a cute tradition, but the truth is, we want to start thinking globally and consider the effects that these little traditions have on our environment. Americans particularly have a thing about the packaging of products. When I was in Mexico a few years ago, I visited a traditional marketplace and was fascinated by the unvarnished fruits and vegetables that were laid out. They certainly weren't as pretty as the ones we have in the States, but they looked natural and healthy to me. However, some of the people I was with thought they looked terrible and unappealing. In another part of the market, there were open bins with powdered spices in it. Again, it fascinated me, because all the bins next to each other looked so bright and colorful. My friend said that they would never buy any spices from an open bin like that, and I asked why, and they said because it wasn't clean. When I asked why again, the answer came back that it wasn't in a package, and I had to laugh. Where did they think the spices were before they were put in a package? We have become so used to having things presented to us in a certain way that it's hard to accept it if we don't have all the frills and pretty packaging attached to it. Let's be willing to see where we can make small adjustments for the sake of the environment. Even if all you do is buy a cloth shopping bag or turn the water tap off while you brush your teeth, you have contributed something by doing it. At my office, we can serve as much as possible. There's a maintenance man in our building who picks up our recyclable copy paper every week and takes it to the recycling plant. We use padded envelopes over again. We use recycled paper in our books whenever possible, even though it costs a little more. Sometimes it isn't possible to get it, but we always ask for it anyway, as we realize that if we continue to ask for it, eventually enough printers will have it available. It works that way in all areas of conservation. By creating a demand for something, we can help heal the planet in different ways as a collective power. At home, I do organic gardening and make compost for the garden. Every piece of used vegetation goes into that compost pile. Not a lettuce leaf or a leaf from a tree leaves my property. I believe in returning to the land what is taken away. I have a few friends who even save their vegetable trimmings for me. They put them into a bag in the freezer, and when they visit, they put their collection into my compost bin. What goes in as trash comes out as rich earth filled with nourishment for plants. Because of my recycling practices, my garden produces lavishly for all my needs and is beautiful too. Eat nourishing foods. Our planet is designed to give us every single thing we need to take care of ourselves. It has all the food we need. If we eat the foods of the planet, we are going to be healthy because it is part of the natural design. However, we, in our great intelligence, have designed foods such as Twinkies, and we wonder why our health isn't so good. A lot of us give lip service to diets. We say, yes, we know, as we reach for one sugar-filled treat after another. 2 generations ago, when Betty Crocker or Clarence Birdseye or whomever came out with the first convenience-type food, we said, oh, isn't this wonderful? And then came another, and another, and another. Until generations later, there are people in this country now who have never tasted real food. Everything is canned, processed, frozen, chemicalized, and ultimately microwaved. I recently read that the young people in the military today do not have the healthy immune systems that young people had 20 years ago. If we don't give our body natural foods, which it needs to build and repair itself, how can we expect it to last a lifetime? And add to this drugs and cigarettes and alcohol abuse, a dose of self-hatred, and you have the perfect climate for dis-ease to flourish. I had a very interesting experience recently. I took something called a responsible driver's course. It was filled with people over 55 years of age who were there ostensibly to get 3 to 10% off their auto insurance. I really found it fascinating that we spent the whole morning talking about illness, all the illnesses we could look forward to as we grew older. We talked about diseases of the eyes and everything that could go wrong with our ears and our hearts. When lunchtime came, 90% of these same people ran across the street to the nearest fast food restaurant. I thought to myself, we still don't get it, do we? 1,000 people a day die from smoking. That's 365,000 people a year. I understand that over 500,000 people die from cancer each year. 1 million people die from heart attacks every year. 1 million people. Knowing this, why do we still run out to fast food restaurants and pay so little attention to our bodies? Healing ourselves and our planet. Part of the catalyst for this transitional period is the crisis of AIDS. The AIDS crisis is showing us how unloving and prejudiced we are towards each other. We treat people with AIDS with such little compassion. One of the things that I would really like to see happen on this planet, and I want to help create, is a world where it is safe for us to love each other. When we were little, we wanted to be loved for who we were, even if we were too skinny or too fat, too ugly or too shy. We come to this planet to learn unconditional love, first to have it for ourselves, and then to give the same unconditional love to other people. We need to get rid of this idea of them and us. There is no them and us. There is only us. There are no groups that are expendable or less than. Every one of us has a list of those people over there. We can't really be spiritual as long as there is one person over there. Many of us grew up in families where prejudice was normal and natural. This group or that group was not good enough. In order to make ourselves feel better, we would put the other group down. However, as long as we are saying that someone else isn't good enough, what we're really reflecting is that we're not good enough. Remember, we're all mirrors of each other. I remember when I was invited to the Oprah Winfrey Show. I appeared on TV with 5 people with AIDS who were doing quite well. The 6 of us had met the evening before for dinner, and it was such an incredibly powerful gathering. When we sat down to have dinner, the energy was extraordinary. I started to cry because this was something I had been striving for several years, to get a positive message out to the American public that there is hope. These people were healing themselves, and it wasn't easy. The medical community told them that they were going to die. They had to experiment with many different methods by trial and error, and they were willing to expand and go beyond their own limitations. We taped the next day, and it was a beautiful show. I was pleased that women with AIDS were also represented on the show. I wanted Middle America to open their hearts and to realize that AIDS doesn't only affect a group that they don't care about. It affects everybody. When I came out, Oprah said to me off camera, "Louise, Louise, Louise," and came to me and gave me a big hug. I believe we relayed the message of hope that day. I've heard Dr. Bernie Siegel say that there was someone who has healed his or herself of every form of cancer. So there is always hope, and hope gives us possibilities. There is something to work towards, instead of throwing up our hands and saying there's nothing that can be done. The AIDS virus is just doing its thing, being what it is. It breaks my heart to realize that there will be more and more heterosexual people who are going to die from AIDS because the government and the medical profession are not moving fast enough. As long as AIDS is perceived as a gay disease, it will not receive the attention it urgently needs. So how many straight people will have to die before it's considered a legitimate illness? I think the faster we all put away our prejudices and work for a positive solution to this crisis, the faster the whole planet will heal. However, we can't heal the planet if we allow people to suffer. To me, AIDS is very much a part of the pollution of the planet. Do you realize that dolphins off the coast of California are dying of immune deficiency diseases? And I don't believe it's because of their sexual practices. We've been polluting our land so that a lot of the vegetation is unfit to eat. We are killing the fish in our waters. We are polluting our air. So now there is acid rain and a hole in the ozone layer, and we continue polluting our bodies. AIDS is a terrible, terrible disease, yet the numbers of people who are dying from AIDS are far fewer than those who are dying from cancer, smoking, and heart disease. We search for ever more potent poisons to kill the diseases we create, yet we can't change our lifestyles and diets. We either want some drug to suppress our illness, or we want to surgically remove it, rather than to heal it. The more we suppress, the more that problems manifest in other ways. It's even more incredible to learn that medicine and surgery only take care of 10% of all dis-ease. That's right. Even with all the money we spend on chemicals, radiation, and surgery, they only help 10% of our diseases. I read an article that said that the diseases in the next century will be caused by new strains of bacteria that will affect our weakened immune systems. These bacteria strains have begun to mutate so that the drugs we have now will have no effect on them. Obviously, the more we build up our immune systems, the quicker we are going to heal ourselves and the planet. And I'm not only referring to our physical immune systems, I mean our mental and emotional immune systems as well. To me, healing and curing bring about two different results. I think healing needs to be a team effort. If you expect your doctor to fix you, he or she may take care of the symptoms. However, that doesn't heal the problem. Healing is making yourself whole. To be healed, you must be a part of the team, you and your doctor or healthcare professional. There are many holistic MDs who not only treat you physically, but who see you as a whole person. We have been living with erroneous belief systems, not only individual ones, but societal ones as well. There are people who say that earaches run in their family. Others believe that when they go out in the rain they catch cold, or they get 3 colds every winter. Or when someone catches a cold in the office, everyone gets a cold because it's contagious. Contagious is an idea, and the idea is contagious. A lot of people talk about dis-ease being hereditary. I don't think that's necessarily so. I think that what we pick up are the mental patterns of our parents. Children are very aware. They begin to imitate their parents, even their illnesses. If a father tightens his colon every time he feels angry, the child picks up on that. It's no wonder that when the father gets colitis years later, the child gets colitis too. Everyone knows that cancer is not contagious. Yet why does it run in families? Because the patterns of resentment run in families. Resentment builds and builds until finally there is cancer. We must allow ourselves to be aware of everything so that we can make conscious, intelligent choices. Some things may horrify us, which is part of the awakening process, but then we can do something about them. Everything in the universe, from child abuse and AIDS to the homeless situation and starvation, needs our love. A tiny child who is loved and appreciated will become a strong, self-assured adult. The planet, which has everything here for us and all of life, if we allow it to be itself, will take care of us always. Let's not think about our past limitations. Let's open ourselves to the potential of this incredible decade. We can make these final 10 years of the century a time of healing. We have the power within us to clean our bodies, our emotions, and all the various messes we have made. We can look around and see what needs care. The way each of us chooses to live will have a tremendous impact on our future and on our world. For the highest good of all. You can take this time to apply your personal growth methods to the entire planet. If you just do things for the planet and not for yourself, then you're not in balance. If you only work for yourself and stop there, then that's not balanced either. So let's see how we can begin to balance ourselves and the environment. We know that our thoughts shape and create our lives. We don't always live the philosophy totally. Nonetheless, we've accepted the basic premise. If we want to change our immediate world, we must change our thinking. If we want to change the greater world around us, we need to change our thinking about it, not viewing it as them and us. If all the effort you put out in complaining about what's wrong with the world is applied to positive affirmations and visualizations of the world, you could really help to turn things around. Remember, Every time you use your mind, you are connecting to like-minded people. If you inflict judgment, criticism, and prejudice on others, you are connecting to all the other people who are doing the same. However, if you are meditating, visualizing peace, loving yourself, and loving the planet, you are connecting with these kinds of people. You could be at home, bedridden, and still help to heal the planet by the way you use your mind, by practicing inner peace. I heard Robert Schuller of the United Nations once say, "The human species needs to know that we deserve to have peace." How true these words are. If we can make our young people aware of what is happening in the world and give them options as to what they can do about it, then we can really begin to see a shift in consciousness. Teaching our children early about conservation efforts is one way to reassure them that important work is being done. Even though some adults still won't take responsibility for what is going on in the world around them, we can assure our children that more and more people throughout the world are becoming aware of the long-term effects of global pollution and are striving to change the situation. Becoming involved as a family in an ecological foundation such as Greenpeace or EarthSave is wonderful, as it is never too soon to impress upon children that we all have to accept responsibility for the good of our planet. I recommend that you read John Robbins' book, Diet for a New America. I find it so interesting that John Robbins, heir to the Baskin-Robbins ice cream business, is doing his best to help create a holistic and peaceful planet. It's wonderful to know that some of the children of people who exploit the health of the nation turn around and do things to help the planet. Volunteer groups are also helping to take over where the government is falling short. If the government won't help heal our environment, we can't sit around and wait. We have to get together on a grassroots level and take care of it. We can all do our part. Start to find out where you can help. Volunteer where you can. Give 1 hour a month if you can't do anything else. We are definitely on the cutting edge of the forces that are going to help heal this planet. We are at a point right now where we can all go down the tubes, or we can heal the planet. It isn't up to them. It's up to us, individually and collectively. I see more and more opportunities for a blending of the scientific technologies of the past and the future with the spiritual truths of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. It is time these elements come together. By understanding that acts of violence come from a person who is a traumatized child, we could combine our knowledge and technologies to help them heal and change. We only perpetrate violence by starting wars or throwing people in prisons and forgetting them. Instead, we want to encourage self-awareness, self-esteem, and self-love. The tools for transformation are available. We just have to use them. Lazarus has a wonderful exercise that I would like to share with you. Pick a spot on the planet. It could be anywhere, very far away, or just around the corner. Some place on the planet that you would like to help heal. Envision that place as peaceful, with people well fed and clothed, and living in safety and peace. Take a moment every day and envision it. Put your love to work to help heal the planet. You are important. By sharing your love and all the magnificent gifts within you, you will begin to change the energy on this beautiful, blue-green, fragile planet that we call our home. And so it is. Afterward, I remember when I couldn't sing very well at all. I still don't sing very well, but I'm much more brave. I lead people in song at the end of my workshops and support groups. Perhaps one day I will take some lessons and learn. However, I haven't gotten around to it yet. At one event, I began to lead everyone in song, and the man in charge of the sound system turned off my microphone. Joseph Vatimo, my assistant, said, "What are you doing?" And the other man said, "She's singing off-key." It was so terribly embarrassing. Now, it really doesn't matter anymore. I just sing my heart out, and it seems to open up a little bit more. I've had some extraordinary experiences in my life, and the one that has opened my heart on a very deep level has been working with people with AIDS. I can hug people now who, a few years ago, I couldn't even look at. I've gone beyond a lot of my own personal limitations. In reward for that, I have found so much love. Wherever I go, people give me tremendous amounts of love. In October 1987, Joseph and I went to Washington, D.C. to march for governmental help for AIDS. I don't know how many are aware of the AIDS quilt. It's rather incredible. Many, many people from around the country got together and made quilt patches to commemorate someone who has died from AIDS. These patches are made with so much love and put together with patches from all over the world to make an enormous quilt. When we were in Washington, the patches were put into sections and displayed between the Washington and Lincoln monuments. At 6 o'clock in the morning, we began to read the names of the people on the quilt. As we did, people would unfold the patch and put it in place next to the others. It was a very emotional time, as you can imagine. People were crying everywhere. I was standing with my list waiting to read when I felt this tap on my shoulder. I could hear someone say, "Could I ask you a question, please?" And I turned around, and the young man standing behind me looked at the badge with my name on it and shouted, "Louise, hey, oh my God!" And he went into absolute hysteria and flung himself in my arms. We held each other, and he just sobbed and sobbed. Finally, when he could contain himself, he told me that his lover had read my book many times, and when he was about to leave the planet, his lover had asked him to read a treatment from my book. He read it slowly, as his lover read the lines with him, and the very last words his lover said were, "All is well," and he died. So here was I right in front of him. He was extremely touched. When he could compose himself enough, I said, "But what did you want to ask me?" It seems that he had not been able to complete his lover's patch on time, and he wanted me to add his lover's name to my list. He just happened to pick me. I remember this moment very well, because it showed me that life is really very simple, and the things that are important are also simple, and everything falls into place. I want to share a quote with you from Emmett Fox. If you don't know Emmett Fox, he was a very popular teacher in the 40s and 50s and early 60s, and one of the clearest teachers I know. He has written some beautiful books, and these are some of my favorite words of his. "There is no difficulty that enough love will not conquer. There is no dis-ease that enough love will not heal. No door that enough love will not open. No gulf that enough love will not bridge. No wall that enough love will not throw down. And no sin that enough love will not redeem. It makes no difference how deeply seated may be the trouble, how hopeless the outlook, how muddled the tangle, how great the mistake. A sufficient realization of love will dissolve it all. And if you could love enough, you would be the happiest and most powerful person in the world." It's true, you know. It sounds wonderful, and it is true. What do you need to do to get to that space where you could be the happiest and most powerful person in the world? I think inner space travel is just beginning. We are just beginning to learn about the power that we have inside us. We are not going to find it if we contract. The more we can open to ourselves, the more we are going to find the universal energies available to assist us. There are incredible accomplishments that we are capable of. Take a few deep breaths. Open your chest and give your heart room to expand. Keep practicing, and sooner or later, the barriers will begin to drop. Today is your beginning point. And so it is. Appendix A. Meditations for personal and planetary healing. Acknowledge yourself for being centered when there is incredible chaos around you. Acknowledge yourself for being courageous and for doing so much more than you thought you could. The healing work we do at the end of our workshops and support groups is very powerful. We usually break into groups of 3 and do a form of laying on of hands for each other. It is a wonderful way to accept energy and also share energy with many people who are reluctant in one way or another to ask for help. Often, profound experiences occur. I would like to share some of the meditations we do at our healing circles. It would be wonderful if we did them on an ongoing basis, either by ourselves or in groups. See your inner child in any way that you can, and notice how it looks and feels. Comfort your child. Apologize to it. Tell it how sorry you are for forsaking it. You have been away for so long, and you are now willing to make it up. Promise this little child that you will never, ever leave them again. Any time it wants, it can reach out and touch you, and you will be there. If it is scared, you will hold it. If it is angry, it is okay to express the anger. Tell it you love it very much. You have the power to help create the kind of world that you want you and your child to live in. You have the power of your mind and your thoughts. See yourself creating a wonderful world. See your child relaxed and safe, peaceful, laughing, happy, playing with friends, running free, touching a flower, hugging a tree, picking a piece of fruit, and eating it with delight, playing with a puppy or a kitten, swinging high above the trees, laughing with joy, and running up to you and giving you a big hug. See the two of you healthy and living in a beautiful, safe place, having wonderful relationships with your parents, friends, and co-workers, being greeted with joy wherever you go, having a special kind of love. See where you want to live